What's up, everybody? I know I said that this video was going to come right after my loadout video, but unfortunately, it just lined up at a poor time right when I was coming home for the first time in 7.5 months. As you can see, I'm not in my normal office. And then right after I got back to Maryland, I thought that I was going to have to get a new laptop. My laptop wasn't working, but that's all fixed now. And so I just had a bunch of things I ran into and could not make this video. But I don't want to keep this too long. Let's go ahead and let's jump right into my top 10 SMGs right now. I'm going to run through them all, and then I'm going to go over some numbers just to kind of show you why I chose what I did. And so let's go ahead and jump right into the loadouts. Okay, and if you notice, there's no sound coming from Warzone, but that's because I had to mute it because they have the stupid Godzilla vs. King Kong sound effects in the menu that I just can't take listening to. So number 10 is the Milano. I really put this on the list because I just see it so often. It's really nothing special in terms of time to kill, but in terms of range and everything, it's still a pretty decent option. It's just if you come up against anybody with like any other gun on this list, especially towards the top of the list, if they have any skill at all, you're probably going to lose unless you're really disgusting at Warzone. So that's why it's all the way 10 on the list. It gets really high use. It's got good range. It's good sniper support. Obviously, if you want to go sniper support, switch the bruiser grip for field agent grip, and then go with the 3 times over the Tiger team. I don't really like to run it, but it's a good sniper support if you want. Otherwise, I go ahead and keep it SMG like this. Keep the Tiger team and the bruiser on it. Then largest mag, task force barrel, agency suppressor. Same Cold War stuff. Number 9. It is so sad to me that this has fallen so far, but it's the Cold War MP5. It doesn't kill as fast as a lot of the Vanguard guns right now. Its range isn't exceptional, but it's still a really fun gun. It's got really good movement speeds. It's got a good ADS. Still got a lot of the benefits of Cold War guns, just without really good time to kill, and it's limited to 5 attachments. But it's the same build I always have: agency suppressor, Tiger team spotlight, Raider stock, 50 round drum, or bruiser grip. You can drop the Raider stock. I do like the additional sprint to fire time, especially. But they did nerf the movement speeds on both the combat and the Raider stock. So if you want to drop the Raider stock, go with like a Serpent Wrap or Airborne Elastic Wrap. Those both hurt your sprint to fire time, but it's still an SMG, so it's still really good. I remember when that was like number 1 and number 2 all the time. Number 8, another Cold War gun. Cold War guns are still really good from every category. Bullfrog. Bullfrog beats out the MP5 a little bit in range. At least on Caldera, like chest shot, better time to kill, which we'll get into. And it's got a 65 round mag, all the way up to an 85. And so I just run the Bullfrog, but it's the same Cold War typical SMG loadout: Group suppressor, task force barrel, Tiger team spotlight, bruiser grip, and 65 round mag. This does have 50 by default, so you could drop the 65 and then throw on Spetsnaz PKM or KGB skeletal stock as well. Very good, but I just like having the extra 15 since I play mostly rebirth quads, but some trios, some quads. Number 7 is yet another Cold War gun. It's the Lapa. The Lapa's got good damage range, and it's got really good time to kill, but just the Vanguard guns are a lot better than Cold War guns right now, and there's not a single Modern Warfare SMG on this list, despite some possibly having a place on there. AUG has a good time to kill, but it's really slow. So we just keep ending up with Cold War guns. And once again, agency suppressor. This time, instead of a task force barrel, we are running a compact barrel. It hurts your fire rate, your range, and your vertical recoil control, but it helps horizontal, which is a lot harder to control. It helps your aim, walking, move speed, and on top of that, it increases your damage, and it is the best time to kill for the Lapa. Then Tiger team spotlight, microflex LED, which is a must because the iron sights are so bad. You got to choose whatever optic you like, mine being the microflex LED, and then the largest mag. Now here, if you're a psycho, you can drop the microflex LED and go either bruiser grip or SAS combat stock or Raider stock. I don't really think that's a great idea. I choose Tiger team because it gives you movement speed and aim, walking, move speed. While the bruiser grip gives you hipfire accuracy and movement speed, I'd also rather have the strafe speed while I'm in a gunfight because I don't really hipfire. But if you hipfire a lot, I would go with the bruiser grip over the Tiger team spotlight. Once again, you could go with one of these options. They give you ADS firing speed and aim, walking, movement speed, but I'd rather have the overall movement speed increase, as well as this hurting your hipfire accuracy. Plus, the sprint to fire time is still really good on SMGs. And then combat stock, same thing. Gives you good firing, move speed, aim, walking speed, ADS speed, but I'd rather have the overall movement speed while also having the aim, walking movement speed. And then finally, we are off of the Vanguard guns. The Cold War guns. And Vanguard PPSH, you can build it for an ADS build. This ranks really low despite its time to kill being pretty good. Ranks low for me because I don't hip fire. If hip fire is your main way of using SMGs, this is probably number 1 on your list, maybe number 2. I definitely top 3 if you're a hip fire, but probably 1 or 2 just because its time to kill is so good and its hip fire is so accurate and so tight. We do the recoil booster for increasing the fire rate. The 230mm barrel is the hip fire barrel. It's the hip fire accuracy, hip fire recoil recovery, and fire rate. You do lose recoil control and ADS speed, but we're not really worried about that if you're only hip firing. If you kind of want to do a combo build, you can do the rapid barrel. It does hurt your horizontal recoil and sprint to fire speed, but it doesn't hurt your hip fire at all and gives you the fastest fire rate. But if I'm going to run it, I'm going to run it as hip fire because I don't really like the PPSH anyways. Carbon foregrip, best under barrel to give you hip fire accuracy. Plus, if you do have to ADS, it does give you good vertical recoil control. Hand stop does give you better horizontal. 72 round, 672 mag, just the best mag for it. You can try the 8mm, but it speeds up your fire rate, slows down your damage. It just doesn't kill as fast as the 7.62 rounds do. And then hollow point gives you limp damage. Lengthen sometimes is what I would go with, but since we're hip firing, I'm not going to use lengthen because it's never going to matter. And then subsonic's another really good option so you don't show up on the minimap since we're running the recoil booster. But hollow point will give you a faster time to kill, and when you're hip firing, the damage range is not as important. And then Pine Tar Grip gives you the best hip fire accuracy. And this is the most I'm probably going to go over in SMG because it's the most unique build. Slate Reflector, just in case we do have to ADS, but if you're never ADSing, I know some people will put on some of the long range sights because of that overall accuracy it helps give you, and the ADS speed doesn't hurt. But just in case I have to ADS, I go with the Slate Reflector. And then Remove Stock gives you more hip fire accuracy for some reason. And we're not worried about aim down sight speed, which actually should be better, but it doesn't make sense all the time. And we're not worried about recoil control. We're just worried more about sprint to fire speed, hip fire accuracy, and movement speed because we're going to be hip firing with this. Tight Grip, just in case you do have to ADS, is a good option, but I like Fleet just for the overall movement speed. Same thing with Quick. On Hand is an interesting option because it helps your ADS speed, but we're not really worried about that with the hip fire build. Now into the top 5. Number 5 is the newly, very strongly buffed Armawera. Not top tier, but definitely top tier, viable, and a lot of fun. I did go over this in my loadout video, so I'll go ahead and link that down below, so I don't have to go over it as much. But it's recoil booster like every SMG. Hand stop's becoming more common. I think the Skeletal is really good for a gun that doesn't have a lot of recoil, but a lot of these loadouts for Vanguard guns have a lot of horizontal bounce and a lot of vertical recoil, so the hand stop's just a slightly better option since it doesn't hurt your ADS. Carbon foregrip's always a decent option because it helps your hip fire and your ADS. And your ADS is still quick on an SMG, but because I'm more worried about controlling horizontal, I'd rather use the hand stop. And then 60 round mags. You can use the 8mm 72 round mag for more ammo, but that gives you more horizontal recoil and more visual recoil. And so I just go with the 9mm 60. I believe the 8mm 72 does kill a little faster, and I think the 30 caliber still kills a lot faster, but then that only has 35 rounds, and you just get a lot more recoil with those as well as visual recoil. Lengthened, Slate Reflector, your choice of optic. Fabric Grip like usual. If you do find the recoil a little bit hard to manage, you can always switch to the polymer. It's got no cons, and it helps your accuracy and recoil during sustained fire, which you're obviously going to be doing with an SMG. I run the folding stock. It hurts your initial firing recoil, but it helps your sprint to fire speed, helps your movement speed, which are really important in those close gunfights. But if you do have trouble with the recoil, you can go the body DA. It hurts your movement speed and sprint to fire speed, but it helps your recoil control, your recoil recovery. And so I would go with one of those two stocks. I wouldn't go the Skeletal. It hurts hip fire accuracy, sprint to fire speed, and sustained recoil control, which are all very important while not really helping anything that's as important, but it will help your strafe speed a lot. And then I would just avoid the standard. It hurts your hip fire accuracy and your movement speed. ADS isn't that important. And we get some horizontal recoil control out of other attachments. And then hard scope for more recoil control. You can run Vital, but Vital never seems to make a huge difference. So I'll take the recoil control over it. Or you can go sleight of hand if you find yourself running out of ammo a lot. And then quick, like usual, you can run on hand. But like I said, these are SMGs, so it's not a big deal. Number 4, the MP40. The only one I'm not going to put a camo on because I just love this Snoop Dogg skin. And its usual build, I think everyone knows the short build by now. The recoil booster, like usual. The hand stop. Skeletal does work, but it does have a little more recoil than other MP40 builds. I used to run no stock, but now we run the folding because of the sprint to fire speed, movement speed. It doesn't hurt the recoil too much. The remove stock does give you more movement speed, but it hurts your recoil control, which is why we're not running it, because this build does have more recoil than the old MP40 build. I run the fabric grip, hip fire accuracy, aim down sight speed, sprint to fire speed. I don't think the recoil is so much for the polymer grip, but that's another good option if you feel differently. It's still the 7.62 45 round mags. Fortunately, that's not really enough ammo, but it works. Lengthened. I choose momentum. You can run brace to counteract the folding's initial firing recoil. Negative. You can't. So you could run brace. I like momentum just because anything to help movement speed. You could run perfectionist if you find that the recoil is a little bit tough to manage, but I would still rather have momentum. And you can also do unmarked because you could run subsonic, but unmarked also helps keep you off the minimap. And then once again, quick. Top 3. The well gun. It's kind of moved back up on my list. I don't know if this is my favorite well gun, but this is the fastest time to kill well gun and easy to use. Recoil booster, hand stop like you've been seeing, slate reflector, fabric grip like usual. Gung Ho's different. So I think here you either run Gung Ho, Frenzy, Momentum, Fleet, Acrobatic. You could run Unmarked, like I said, or Subsonic. Gung Ho eliminates your sprint to fire speed. You have 0 millisecond sprint to fire speed according to true game data, and so Gung Ho is very valuable on close range weapons that have it. I go back and forth. I like Gung Ho, but I also like Fleet and Acrobatic. Acrobatic's probably my favorite, but it's hard to deny the no sprint to fire time. So I have Gung Ho on there for now. I'd probably go between that and Acrobatic. And then Quick, which helps your sprint speed. So that helps at least the sprinting move speed during Acrobatic, but it is nice to have the overall movement speed, so it's kind of up to you. The big difference here from past well guns is the 120mm guy when short. They did nerf the Shrouded again. The Shrouded's really good if you're running it as sniper support, but as an SMG, since this is mostly for the close range, and I'll have a sniper support video coming, we're going to go with the guy when short because this is for us pushing, getting close range. It ups the fire rate enough that the damage range and the damage drop-offs aren't as important. So it ends up being the best rail since the Shrouded got nerfed. And then the 45 caliber 48 round mags do give you the best time to kill. The 7.62 is going to probably give you the best recoil control. And then the 9mm 64 rounds gives you the most ammo. And in terms of time to kill and recoil control, it's right in between the 7.62 and the 45 caliber rounds. So all 3 mags are good options. It's just if you want the fastest time to kill, which is what this build is kind of centered around, go with the 45, 48 round mags. If you're running sniper support, if you're running trios quads, I would recommend just dealing with the extra recoil compared to the 7.62 and go 9mm. But you can also run the 7.62 for a no recoil build. And then number 2, the Type 100. The Type 100 has like the best, I think it's Caldera. I just accidentally cleared it, so we're going to build together. The best Caldera time to kill. It's going to be the recoil booster like usual. The rapid barrel. The under barrel is going to be the hand stop because it's got a little bit of recoil when you throw on the 30 caliber 36 round mags, which is the fastest time to kill mag on this SMG. And then once again, you run out of ammo. This would be number 1 probably if you didn't run out of ammo so easily. But I go back and forth between this and the well gun depending on how I'm hitting shots because I'll find a way to get away or I'll just die because I'm usually playing Rebirth. Hollow Point does give you a slightly better time to kill, but I don't think it's really worth it compared to having the extra range or staying off the mini-map. So I like to go lengthened. I believe True Game Data in his build uses Hollow Point. Then it's your choice of optic. I still prefer the Slate Reflector. He has the rubber grip on there for best recoil control. I still like the fabric. I think polymers are kind of a good in-between. But I'm going to stick with fabric for now. I'd probably go fabric or polymer, but I believe the rubber does give you the best recoil control. And then we go skeletal for the best sprint to fire and movement speed possible. And then once again, it's between Gung Ho and Acrobatic. Vital maybe here and there will help you out, but it's not worth it. Sleight of hand's a good option if you're running this for trio or quads, but it is hard to ignore the instant sprint to fire time. And then once again, quick. And then number 1 is still the Owen gun. It's just a slightly different build that I'm sure you've seen around. This does give the best time to kill overall. And it's recoil booster like usual. Hand stop once again. Lengthened. Polymer grip because this does have a decent amount of bounce and visual recoil. Breadman turned me on to the monocular reflector when I was watching his stream. I do think it's a better sight picture when you're dealing with a big mag, but it's still your choice of optic. I know True Game Data does no stock attachment instead of remove stock, but I still prefer the remove stock. It doesn't hurt my recoil control enough to for it to outweigh. I'm sorry, I'm having so much trouble speaking. It does not hurt my recoil enough to outweigh the movement speed, the ADS speed, the sprint to fire speed, and the aim walking speed benefits that I get, because this gun is slow to ADS compared to other SMGs, and it's slow movement speed and slow sprint to fire speed, so it's worth dealing with the extra recoil. And this does not have Gung Ho. So acrobatic. You can do brace if you're struggling with the recoil still. You definitely don't need sleight of hand. And you could do fleet. If you're running this with a sniper, fleet might not be a bad option. But acrobatic, movement speed, sprint, moving speed, which this gun so desperately needs help with. And then quick once again. You could go on hand. This is an SMG where I'd consider it because the ADS is slower. So you could go on hand if you'd like. And those are the top 10 SMGs. I'm going to go ahead and jump over to True Game Data. If you're just here for loadouts, I do appreciate you watching. If you're here to see a little more stat breakdown, I am going to go jump over and do that right now. Okay, and just real quick, I loaded these guns partially built. I didn't do anything for recoil control or anything. I did stuff for, like, range and bullet velocity. And so if you look, this is Caldera to the chest. And the Owen gun is blowing away everything else. It's decently faster at 0 meters. It's 0.08 seconds faster than the Type 100, and that's when you look at the chest. When you look at the head, and I'll go ahead and share a link in the description if you want to check this out for yourself. Let this load the head. I hope this isn't broken by now. I think this might be. I think I took too long. There we go. Head for Caldera. When you look at the head for Caldera, now the Type 100 is blowing the Owen gun that's jumped all the way up to the middle of the pack. Now it's blowing everything out of the water. So when you mix in head and chest shots, you end up getting a very fast time to kill with the Type 100. And then you look at neck. So if you're hitting from here up, you're obliterating everything else, and then the Owen comes second. So when you look at time to kill, those have to be the top two. If you want to look at Rebirth, it's a little bit closer. This is neck on Rebirth. Type 100 blowing everything away. Owen's starting to get blown away a little bit here. And then when you look at chest, I think this is where the Owen really... Yeah, then the Owen's in the lead again, but not by a whole lot. And so, like I said, the Type 100, if it had more ammo, would absolutely be the number 1. But it's got to be number 2 on the list because you run out of ammo. But if you're playing like Rebirth solos and duos, the Type 100 is the best SMG. But I don't do that, so the Owen's still going to be number 1 for me. So we're going to go ahead and take those two off the list, and we're going to look at some other things here. So we're on Rebirth, which is the most popular mode right now. So we're going to mostly focus on that. You can see the MP40 short has the fastest time to kill, but not a great drop-off. Whereas the Armawera isn't too far behind and has a little bit more range. And so you look at those you can kind of go back and forth top 2. If you look at the PPSH, though, it's very fast time to kill on Rebirth. You aren't as concerned about range because you're hip firing, but its range isn't amazing. And the Armawera and the Well Gun, 2 things to note. They do have 2 damage drop-offs, as well as the Lapa have 2 damage drop-offs, and that can be kind of an issue sometimes. But these are SMGs, so we're not too worried past most of their first damage drop-offs. So the big thing here is when you look at the Cold War guns, they are, let's see, dark purple, light blue, dark green, and pink. On light green, not once have they ever been close, and the Milano's getting blown away by everything. So, I mean, those are kind of the time to kills, some of the damage drop-offs. If you look at some of the longer ones, you can see the Well Gun actually does pretty decent, even with the Gaiwan short barrel. The Armawera does somewhere in the middle of the pack for damage drop-off. but that's kind of brutal. If you want to see the longest ones, you get rid of... Do I get rid of the Lapa? Yeah, the Lapa's not doing great. Milano, get rid of the MP40. And get rid of the Cold War MP5. And you can see there's some pretty good damage drop-offs here, especially when you throw, not the PPSH, when you throw the Owen gun. The Owen gun's damage drop-off is absurd. With that 60 millimeter, or with the 60 round mag, it doesn't drop off for 25 meters. I think the Type 100 is pretty similar. Oh yeah, the Type 100 is what, 22? Yeah, the Type 100 is 21.8 meters. So those also are, that's why they're at the top, because they have such far damage ranges. I mean, the well gun for an SMG is not bad, but it's dropping off at 15.8 meters. So when you go to the ones that are 20 meters or longer, and you're looking for some range in your SMGs, it's the Milano, the Bullfrog, the Type 100, and the Owen gun. And the Type 100, the Owen gun blows everything away. The Type 100 is just behind the Bullfrog, or the Milano, with a way faster time to kill, and they all do better than the Bullfrog. So those are kind of some of the data that went into consideration here, as well as like ammo counts and stuff. But the Owen gun and the Type 100 are by far the best SMGs overall in Warzone. With that all being said, I will link my loadout video below. Like I mentioned, I'll have a link for this exact comparison for true game data down below. Keep an eye out for the long range videos, the video, and the sniper support video. Those are definitely coming as well. But thank you for watching. I appreciate any watch time at all. If you skipped around the video, you just watched the loadouts, you skipped kind of later to the data, I appreciate any watch time. I appreciate any interaction as well. So please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when I upload my long range video, my sniper support video, and all future videos. Let me know down in the comments if you love my loadouts, hate my loadouts. My rankings are awful. My rankings are great. Let me know what you think down below. But like I said, I'll have those 2 links below, as well as my social medias. So please feel free to visit all of that. But I will see you on Rebirth Island and Caldera. Get frying. Have a good day. Bye.